Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of the Stage Racing Podcast. We're talking all things Atlanta this week, and then looking forward to the race at COTA coming up this weekend. So stay tuned with us. We got a full show. All right, everyone. Cody, welcome back, man. You doing all right tonight?
I'm doing wonderful. What a weekend.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was fun. In all honesty, we talked about it. It seemed like it was going to be exciting, and it lived up to the hype, honestly. But we'll dive into that. A couple of things before we get started. I texted you this earlier this week. First of all, let us say apologies for getting the pod out late this week. It's been crazy in our personal lives, and we're just trying to survive. So we made it this far. But I found my mom pulled out some retro NASCAR cards. And so for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to pull different ones out. So I decided to start with good old Dave Blaney this week in the old '07 Jack Daniels car. So just bringing a little old school NASCAR swag to the pod this week. And it's really funny because on the back of his little hero card here, it says children. And wouldn't you know it, there's the old champ himself, Ryan Blaney, listed on there. So who would have known? I don't even remember getting that, man. I have no idea where it came from. It was great just going through older stuff like that. But anyway, so yeah, hey, let's dive into it. First things first, literally right after we posted the pod last week, it hits Twitter that Chase Briscoe got slammed with a penalty. Huge penalty. Docked 100 playoff points for what they're saying is basically remanufactured bolts in a spoiler. So yeah, I mean, initial thoughts on that, Cody. What do you think? It's quite harsh.
Yeah, for real. NASCAR really wasn't playing with those new rule changes and
Yeah.
all those things that they talked about coming into the season. And I mean, I think we're at the point for him. He's going to have to win to get in.
That's my next
And
question. Is he basically has to win to get in now, right? Because before going into before going into Atlanta, you and I had more points than Chase Briscoe did, and we don't even drive a car.
yeah, I think he's got a huge uphill climb. I think that 19 team is clearly good enough. He was one of your picks to win this year
Mhm.
and to sort of take that next step. So, I mean, ultimately, I think he still finds his way in with JGR. But, and I tell you what, he's got his hands full for the rest of the season.
A dream scenario would have been him winning in Atlanta last week and being locked in the playoffs with negative points, because that would have just shined a light on the system that NASCAR has. Hey, it could happen this weekend. I don't know. He's not a great road course racer, but it could still happen. I mean, it's going to take him 6, 7 races
So
before he, is
he's
out of
back
the hole.
in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. Anyways, your thoughts? Do you think it's fair?
Um, I think it's a little steep for how many points it was, to be honest. I think it's a little astronomical for 100 points, and especially after the first race. I could see a warning, maybe 25, 50 points, and uh, maybe suspend the crew chief for a couple races. But
Mhm.
NASCAR really, like, they said, hey, we're going to start from race one and hammer it down, and I mean, they did it.
I'll give him this. I mean, fair or not, you can debate that all day. I'll say this: their NASCAR stayed very consistent since they switched to these new cars, and they've told these teams, you have your parts, you know what you're supposed to do, don't mess with it. And each time someone's messed with it, they kind of make it harsher each time. I think they're really just trying to drive the point home. It's like, hey guys, like we're not playing, and I'll give them that. As many times as NASCAR's not consistent. Basically, we'll get to that later with the name of our pod. NASCAR is gonna NASCAR. They have stayed consistent with this, so you got to kind of give them the benefit of the doubt on that. All right, the next one, the truck race. I know you were busy Saturday working a little bit, so I don't think you got to catch the truck race, but a very entertaining truck race. Um, Kyle Busch just toys with those boys, man. Wins the race. I mean, he just put on a clinic. Uh, is it fair to say he's the GOAT in trucks?
At this point, I think so. I mean, they didn't call it the Bush rule for nothing, with Xfinity and trucks. And so I think, outside of the Cups, he's probably the best driver we've ever seen. And I mean, he's got the most wins. So
I mean, you can argue him across the board. I mean,
you
honestly,
can.
he's been that good. Hate him or love him, you got to recognize the talent. But in the trucks, No one's drove a truck better than Kyle Busch ever has, and I don't know if they ever will, to be completely honest. Especially with the way that it is nowadays, you're not going to get as many drives in the truck that he used to. Um, and what he did Saturday, I mean, just unreal. He would set those guys up. I mean, those young guys are going by him like, "Oh, I got him," and then Kyle's just like, "Bring it on back, buddy." Just went right back around him, and the
Yeah,
last lap was evidence enough. I mean, just
just
just waited.
master class for Kyle Busch, and it really and when you look at it, it really shows the difference in level between those Cup guys and the trucks, and so I mean, yeah, I think he has to go down as the greatest ever.
Yeah, he definitely will. I mean, Hall of Fame career already, but he could probably get in the Hall of Fame just based on what he's done in trucks alone. Honestly,
Absolutely.
they throw everything out the window. Next up was the Xfinity race. I know you did get to catch some of that. We were texting through it. Austin Hill kind of dominated. He won again at Atlanta. I think that's 4 wins at Atlanta now, if I'm not mistaken, since they've been racing on the new configuration there. I, I mean, dude, he was just solid all race.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like you said, he's dominated this race a bunch of times, and there at the end, it was like nobody really wanted to take it from him. If they would have really taken the time to, sort of, 2, 3, 4 would have stuck
Hmm.
together and tried to get him, but they were too busy fighting themselves.
Exactly
And
right. I mean, Denny said the same thing on his podcast. He basically said Austin Hill was just taking advantage of guys wanting to try to take advantage of him instead of working together in it. And I think some of that's that learning curve at that stage of racing in that series. Um, a little controversy on the last lap there. You had a big pile up on the backstretch, and they didn't throw the yellow flag. Did they do the right thing not throwing the yellow flag in that situation?
honestly, I couldn't tell you. I don't know how to judge NASCAR now in general at all. So, I mean, of course, we talked last week on the pod. We think racing back to the yellow to a certain extent is perfectly what we want to is what we want to see as
Hmm.
fans. You ask the drivers, they'll probably tell you something entirely different. They'll say they want the safety protocol, they want the standards, and of course, we all want consistency. So I think NASCAR made the right call letting them, run back to the line. But we'll talk more about that. And
Yeah,
uh,
for this one, I disagree. I remember watching it live. Like, why the heck are they not throwing the yellow? I mean, guys are running through there wide open, and it just kept going. I mean, I can remember it's just me and my boys, as my wife and daughter was out of town, and I'm sitting there to the boys like, why are they not throwing the yellow? Of course, there's only so much a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old's going to understand when I'm saying that. They're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, it's not safe. But I was surprised they let it go. Um, and before we switch to stage two, I'll just tee stage two up with this. NASCAR comes out afterwards at the drivers' meeting Sunday morning for the cover race and said, we messed up. We should have thrown the yellow. And I think that let us know. We'll hit this here in a minute. It pretty much set the scene for what we got on Sunday. So,
absolutely.
well, let's move it on to stage two here. Let's just talk about Atlanta in general. It was another super speedway, but man, night and day in the type of racing. And we alluded to this last week. Atlanta is perfect for super speedway with these new next gen cars.
It's the crown jewel. I mean, right now it is the epitome for this next gen car.
I
And
would say there's two really good tracks I think since they've switched to the next gen. Atlanta and Kansas. Those are my top two best tracks right now. What you get with this car, best action, best racing, just pure best racing. And yeah, much better racing. I don't know what it is. Just I guess the shorter backstretch really helps. Um, yeah, and it didn't seem like they were saving as much as they did at Daytona. Maybe it's because the track is shorter to get a little better fuel mileage, and it could be the way the stages lay out too. But it just everything felt better, man. They were coming, they were going. You were seeing these long runs. Heck, Blaney came from like 30 something up to third in like 3 laps. That's what we're used to seeing at Daytona and Talladega, and we're not getting that anymore. But yet they take a mile and a half and add some bacon to it, and we get that back. So it was just great.
yeah, I think it's only going to get better. I think as that track continues to wear, I definitely think that it's just going to get better. And I touched on that last week about the track and the cars are going to be spaced out a little more versus Talladega and Daytona where they're bumper to bumper, they're slamming into each other down the backstretch. Here when they're coming out of the turn, it's taking the whole backstretch to even just get to them. So you know, and they're gonna continue to slip and slide. They're gonna, as the track continues to wear even more. And, I mean, it's just making for good racing. I
Yeah,
think.
and I think with the way that track's configured, they can't bump, but only in certain areas. And that's really just middle of the turns through the backstretch. On the front stretch, you don't want to get into someone because you got that dog leg, and that really gets guys loose. I mean, we saw multiple wrecks in trucks and multiple wrecks in Xfinity because of that. And yeah, I mean, it's just yeah, they space it out. I'm with you. I can't wait until that thing wears out some more. I don't think Atlanta got a harsh enough winter this winter that we needed them to have to wear it out some more. Here's to hoping they get some crazy thunderstorms and temperature fluctuations throughout the summer. But yeah, I still think we're a couple years away. But when that thing gets to where they can't run wide open around that anymore, man, it's
It's gonna be more about handling, and
100%.
it's gonna be so great, and you're gonna really see these guys have to take it to the next level to handle those cars, and and the good and the great are gonna separate themselves.
Just like we saw in Bristol last year when someone peed in the tire compound. I'm fully behind Denny's theory. That's what happened with Goodyear last year. We'll talk about that before the spring Bristol race. But I mean, just you're saying like when it gets to that point, when it comes down to what's in the driver's hands, you separate the Jimmys and the Joes. And don't get me wrong. I mean, if you're at this series, you're really good. But it just takes it when tires become an issue for the drivers, and the drivers have to manage their tires and say you can see who's been doing it for a while and who hasn't, and that's what we saw at Bristol last year, and that's what we can only hope we see in Atlanta in the future. All right, man. Let's. This was the biggest one from the weekend after the race. Carson Hocevar was public enemy number one to basically a third of the field. But man, I go back and watch it. I think early in the race, his issues he had with Kyle Busch, I would say he was in the wrong there. But for everything he did down the stretch, do you think he was in the wrong with what he did?
Down the stretch, I mean, the only thing I will really say that he did wrong and that he really should have known was Ryan Blaney.
Hmm.
In the middle of the turn,
Hmm.
you could not hit a guy, especially Ryan Blaney, champion in the back, like you just can't do that. And if you're going to be up there and you're going to race with those big boys, you can't make that. Like you can't make that move. But everything else, I mean, from the end of the race to at the very end to um, I mean, just the way he managed to work his way back up through there, kind of leaving Chastain out to dry, making that, that last minute decision whether, hey, do I push him? Do I go and try to win my first race? I didn't mind it. I thought it was great. He's a young kid. I mean, he's trying to win his first race. Personally, my opinion is I don't hate it, but I mean, I know, there's sort of a standard.
Yeah, it's like an unwritten ethics, right? It's kind of what it is. But I mean, I'm with you. I agree. The Ryan Blaney thing is his fault. Everything else he did after that, man, dude, have at it, man. Do what you got to do to win the race. Like, I don't feel like he was too overly aggressive to everyone else. And to an extent, I get Ross's frustration. I think Ross was saying, "Hey, if we stick together, we can get past these guys, and then we can get after it after that." I think that was probably what Ross was thinking. But I mean, and we're going to talk about this some more. I think the thing that rubbed me the wrongest that Carson said after the race that I wish he wouldn't have said is when he apologized to Rick Hendrick for not pushing Kyle Larson. And dude,
Agreed.
it's the last lap, man. Yes, I know you have an alliance with them. I get it. It's also a manufacturer thing. Dude, no. Gloves are off, man. Gloves are off. He should not have apologized then. I really wish he would take that part back. Yeah, he pushed Christopher Bell and ultimately helped him win. But before the caution happened there, we were about to have another three wide finish, and it's because Hocevar didn't do what is expected of these guys these days. And yeah, so I just wish he would have taken that back. But other than
Yeah.
that,
Well,
it's
he
a
did
learning
say,
it's a learning curve for him. But yeah, I don't think he was really in the wrong besides the Bush incident and the Blaney incident.
and I mean, he did say he was trying to shuck the 20. Like
Yeah,
he originally did
I
say
mean he
that.
gave him a
So
bump.
he did. I mean, he hit it good, and I mean, he made his way right there in the middle. But yeah, I mean, just to kind of echo what you said, I mean, we got to get away from this manufacturer, uh, you know, partnership, whatever you want to call it, at the end of races. It's like, it's always like Darrell Waltrip used to say at the end of restriction plate racing, you ain't got no buddies now.
Mm-mm.
It's all or nothing. And
100%.
and and so. yeah, I mean, if Carson Hocevar's got a chance to go win that first race, I mean, you remember Tony Stewart. I'll reckon my mama to win a race.
Yeah.
I'll wreck his mama to win a race. Like, like that's the thing is, or to win a championship. Excuse me, it was to win
Even
a
then, we
championship.
get the point.
So
We know what
yeah,
Smoke would do. Smoke would do it for a race too. Forget a championship.
that's right. So Carson didn't do anything wrong, plain and simple. And I mean, if you think he did, I mean, I don't necessarily know if your head's in the right place to be a NASCAR fan.
Yeah, I mean, the drivers are going to have one feeling about it. Us as fans are going to have another. I think he could clean it up a little bit, but I don't think he did anything that wrong.
The
He's
thing I,
going for the win. He's probably not going to have a chance to unless they're on
uh,
another super speedway. But and the other thing too is we sat in there and watched him because you and I both put a little money on him at Daytona because his odds were insane, and he ran dead last the whole time at Daytona. Now they had mechanical issues, so he was probably thinking, "Hey, I actually have a car to compete this week after running dead last in the field the week before. I'm going for it, dude.
mhm,
Kudos, man. Go for it."
yep. The only thing that really bothered me too, other than the Blaney thing, was the interviews after the race. Like to what you said about the Rick Hendrick piece, but then that was the TV interview.
Hmm.
You go and you look at you know I don't know if it was Pockris after the race or who it was, but he was like, oh yep, we're not not here to be a boy band, not here to mess around or whatever. Like we're here to win races, and I'm like, why say that there, but why didn't you like? And I get it, TV
Yeah,
to
I get
that
it.
is
But see, I also think he's so young too. So my thing is like he probably in the moment felt like that's what he should say to TV, but after he caught his breath for a second and had a little bit of time to process everything that was just thrown at him, he was probably like, "Nah, man, I'm not wrong. I don't need to apologize." And so that's probably why he went back to it.
and I hope
Um,
so. I hope so
yeah,
because that's what
100%.
I mean.
I
That's
agree.
what I want to see. I just didn't like the whole kind of here's on one aspect and
Hmm.
here's the other one. I want it consistent. I
Hmm.
want it to see if he's going to say that, and we see it on Twitter for a couple thousand, 10,000 people to see versus millions on TV.
Yep.
I want the millions to see that attitude.
Because for once, Fox didn't leave the race early, so he actually had a chance to get his point across.
He, uh, that's a hard. We'll get to that
I,
too.
I think the other thing with Hocevar too is he's had so many incidents before he got into Cup. I mean, shoot, when he came into Cup, some of these guys were like legitimately worried about their safety, if I remember it right, because some of the dumb things he did before. And sure, he's grown up some since then, so I think a lot of that played into it too. But yeah, ultimately, I think we both agree he wasn't really in the wrong all that much. Keep
Yeah,
doing you, man.
that's right.
Now, one person we're not talking about, and I probably put this on here, and when you saw it, you're probably like, "Come on, Adam, you're just saying this because you don't like Rick Hendrick." But I think it needs to be talked about. Why isn't Larson getting that much flack for the move that he put on Austin Cindric? Gave him the old Denny Hamlin special coming off a two there that caused one of the the first that caused overtime, and ultimately I think caused Kyle Larson to lose the race. Why is he not getting as much flack, man? Is it just because Hocevar's newer, he's easier to pick on, or
I think
what?
it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit of that. I think it's the Hendrick effect. I think and I'm a Hendrick guy, but I agree with you that Larson. I mean, Larson should be getting some flack for this. I mean, the move that he put on, and also too, I think where Larson hadn't won at a super speedway,
And I think that
where
plays a lot into it
he's
too.
been so terrible. I think that aspect of like, oh man, he's going to finish top five. He's going to potentially get this win. That I think that carried a lot more weight. So that's kind of where my mindset is when you ask that question.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of plays into it. He was probably going for the block, and he probably realized he screwed up, but he just committed to it. But yes, like with you, I mean, Kyle Larson's obviously a talented driver, top driver in the world, one of the top drivers in the world, and this was his chance. And I mean, he's not perfect. He showed it right there. He's definitely not perfect. He's made plenty of mistakes in his career that we've seen, but he went for it. Give him benefit of the doubt. He probably didn't need to go for it as much as Hocevar did because Larson's going to win a race this year. Unless something just crazy happens, he's going to win a race this year. So, but I know he wants to get that super speedway monkey off his back. I mean, I can remember a few years ago coming into Martinsville when he won in Martinsville in the spring a few years back. I can remember telling one of you and I's good friends, Ben, shout out to my guy. Going into it, all these people wearing Larson stuff. I'm like, man, he's never really been that good here at Martinsville. And he goes out and dominates, wins the race. He got that monkey off his back. Since then, he's been really good at short tracks. So I think I think it's mental for him for some of these things. He needs to do it, and then he'll dominate. So glad he didn't, because now we don't have to see him dominate. I don't know, though. He's carrying a lot of momentum from that race over to us. But let's talk
Absolutely.
about the winner. Christopher Bell didn't make the playoffs last year. Or, no, sorry, he is in the playoffs last year. Didn't make the Final Four. Had that controversy, at Martinsville. But he's in it again. He's in the playoffs again now. Locked himself in. Everyone always asks this about Denny Hamlin, but I think we should start asking this about Christopher Bell, because he's certainly talented. Is this the year that he contends and wins a championship?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got as good a shot as anybody. I mean, if I'm not mistaken,
2 years
um,
ago, he was there. He
he
was there in
was,
Phoenix
and
and had the
then
brake rotor.
he was, and then also too, shout out to there's a Twitter page that I follow that they do the old Winston Cup points.
Hmm.
They do the old point system every
Hmm.
year to tell you who the champion would be. If I'm not mistaken, I think Christopher Bell might have been the champion over Chase Elliott last year. If I'm not mistaken, I'll have to go verify. I should have looked that up before the pod tonight. But I mean, he's just consistent. I
Yeah.
mean, I think you guys remember when we went to Charlotte last year. He led a lot of that race, if I'm not mistaken,
Yep.
and he ran really well. And he was real strong, and he's always strong. At 20, they always bring good cars. It's a good team. I mean, that's, like I said, I think he's got as good a shot as anybody.
The babyface assassin. I mean, seriously, sometimes I look at him like, this dude's married and had kids. But look, I mean, 10 years ago, people probably said the same thing about me. So I get it. I get it. You've known me for a while. I didn't start looking my age until about a couple years ago. But even then, I
Ugh.
still don't even look 35. But anyways, yeah, I like Christopher Bell, man. I really do. He's like you said, he's consistent. He goes about his business. He does his thing. And yeah, he just goes about it. Like you don't usually find him in a whole lot of controversy. Of course, the Martinsville thing last year, but I don't know how much of that was on him versus the whole manufacturer situation. But
Mhm.
yeah. Well, moving on, the other big thing is we alluded to it earlier. Let's talk about this race's last lap caution. Like I said, NASCAR met with them Sunday morning with the Cup drivers like they always do. Usually those drivers' meetings are just kind of a chance to introduce the sponsors and give them their PR and that sort of thing. But this one, I mean, they told the Cup drivers, hey, look, we screwed up yesterday. We should have thrown a caution. The week before at Daytona, they let them run it to the end. And then, that's on top of after the duel, they threw a caution when they should have let them run it to the end. First of all, do you think they should have thrown it on this one? And I'll give you my opinion. I have my opinion I had Sunday night. I have my opinion I had Monday afternoon.
Yeah, no, I absolutely not. I think we were robbed of a great finish. I mean, me and you were texting as soon as the race was over. Both of us were utterly pissed with the outcome and what was taken from us as NASCAR fans. Um, so I think the wrong decision was made. And like I said, I get it entirely and can support it from the safety standpoint for the drivers, because ultimately we don't want anybody to get hurt.
Hmm.
But at the same time, is you know you took, what could have, I don't know. It could have been closer than last year's finish. I
Yeah.
doubt it, but you never know. And we had it robbed from us.
Sunday night, I'd have been right with you. I was. We were texting about it. I was. And then I calmed down and I'm like, it just sucks because as a fan, we want to see it. Like you saw it developing. The hole opened up. The sea parted. Here comes Moses, aka Carson Hocevar, right down the middle there. And we're like, oh my God, it's happening again. Like 2 years in a row. Are you kidding me? And then all of a sudden, it's like yellow flag. And you're just like, you're mad because you wanted that. You live for that. Those don't happen often. Those type of finishes, they don't happen often. And the fact that it was about to happen again made me feel some type of way. However, Monday afternoon, I kind of changed my mind, and I'm going to tell you why I changed my mind. I changed my mind. We're going to talk about this in the next stage because I finally got to see a good replay of it. And I think that's why we felt the way we did Sundays, because we didn't get to see a really good replay of what was going on and throw that caution. So we never really got to see just how dangerous it actually was when they did decide to throw that caution. And so, yeah, again, safety standpoint, I fully understand it. It's just, like you said, you're a fan, you're tuning in, like it is with any sport. You want to see a game 7. You want to see a buzzer beater in basketball. You know what I mean? You want to see a 3-wide stupid finish in NASCAR like we got last year, and you're about to see it again, and it's just taken from you. It's like the Geico dude with the dollar. Like, you got to be quicker than that. You almost had it. NASCAR just dangled it out there for a minute, yanked it away from us. So yeah, I have mixed feelings on it. If we were recorded Sunday night, I would have gone on a huge rant. Uh,
You know, part of me wonders too. You know, you go back to Daytona and them not throwing it,
hmm
and then you fast forward to Atlanta, they throw it. Of course, they didn't throw it on Saturday, but we think that's the Sunday effect. The Saturday effect kind of really affected Sunday. But I also wonder too, with Daytona being much larger, and of course those cars taking that much longer to get back around, Atlanta being a mile and a half. I think that plays
Daytona's
a
a
lot
little bit
into.
wider too.
Yeah, so I think that has a lot to play in the aspect too. So I mean, ultimately, like I wouldn't be shocked in the next couple of weeks, and I wouldn't expect it this week with the road course, but I would expect it. I would expect the next couple of weeks for NASCAR to probably really nail down some really good details and,
hmm
and probably put something out that says, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to just start going back to throwing it every time, or they're going to come out with something that says like, here's some parameters. But
Yeah.
I more or less expect the latter.
I think what really frustrates us the most is just the lack of consistency, right? Like
Hmm.
we get it one way one time, we get it another way the next, and it has happened for years, man. I mean, you think back to when we used to watch NASCAR when we were kids; they always raced back. They always raced back to line. They just did, and then they changed it, and we fully get why they changed it. I mean, it's a huge safety concern. But it's just like be consistent with it. I mean, I tell it all the time when I'm watching basketball games, or even when I play basketball or soccer, when I played soccer, whatever it is. Man, I tell the referees all the time, like, hey, man, I don't care if you're good, I don't care if you're bad, just be consistent. Like, that way I know as an athlete when I'm playing, I know what to expect, and I think the drivers kind of want the same too. And I fully get where they're coming from. And then as fans, I want to be there too. Just be consistent. Whatever you're gonna be it that's gonna make us angry all the time or it's gonna make us happy. I'll to just be consistent.
Hey, we say the same thing about ACC refs. So
Hey man, Roger Ayers is the goat, buddy. Roger. Oh man, let's move on here to the final stage. We've talked about this a little bit tonight, but I think my question is, can we please stop with the manufacturers shaming guys if they don't push another car that's the same? Can that just please? I mean, I'm begging these guys. You're ruining the sport, man. You're ruining it too much. You're already coming off a year where the Final Four was changed because of manipulation from
it's
manufacturers.
tainted.
Yeah,
It's tainted.
exactly. And now, eh, like you have a guy who almost got his first win apologizing because he didn't push another Chevy. Like, come on, man. Can we stop?
So here's my question. So I'm gonna pose a question to you. So you're a Denny Hamlin fan. Do you care at the end of the day if Denny Hamlin helps Bubba Wallace?
I mean, no.
In the grand scheme of things, not so much because it's 23-11, not because anything else. I mean, okay, fine. We'll throw another one out there.
Switch it
Do you
around.
do
Switch it
you care?
around. If
Yeah,
Bubba was pushing Denny, no, heck no. Bubba needs to go out there and win the race,
exactly.
man.
Do you care that John Hunter Nemechek is helping Denny Hamlin?
No,
No,
who cares?
no, it doesn't matter. So I 100% agree with you. I'm supporting this 100%. That we need to get away from it. It's we as fans, we go to the race to watch our favorite driver. I could care at the end of the day. I'm not walking out saying, well, Denny didn't win today, but thank God he helped Joe Hunter Nemechek finish
Helped
fifth.
another
Like,
Toyota. Yeah.
I don't care. I could care less about that other
I would say
Toyota.
there are some fans that like that, but we're talking less than 5% of NASCAR fans
I
that are
don't.
like
I
that.
think it's less than
It-
1%.
you're
I
probably
don't
right.
think there's that many. I mean, so
I get it. There's a ton of money involved in this. Obviously, I get that, and they
okay.
they
So I'm going to pose this. If that's the case, then why don't they make a bigger deal of the manufacturer championship like they used to?
hmm
Because if you remember right back in the day on NBC and Fox, they used to show at the end of every race they would show the manufacturer championship standings.
Yep.
They don't even talk about it. They don't
The only
show it
place you get
anymore.
that now is
Okay.
X.
Exactly. So if we're gonna talk about it, then let's show it so that
hmm
it's a real thing and it's talked about, and then okay, maybe I can get behind it a little more. But the fact that we're just completely oblivious to it, it's just really frustrating.
I agree. I'm with you 100%. I'll say this: manufacturers have their role in races, and this is it. At super speedways, when you want to pit, bringing all of them down at one go, I'm down with it. After that, when you hit that final stage and you're finished with that final pit stop, all gloves are off,
Everybody,
man. Every
everybody
man
for
for themselves.
themselves.
Every man for
Hmm.
themselves. I mean,
Hmm.
who gives two flying flips?
Yeah,
You're
man.
on your own.
Push
You're
me
on
to
your
the
own.
front. Let's
Yep.
go.
Or push me out the way if you got to do what
Yeah,
you got to
yeah.
do.
If you got come on Carson Hocevar, if you got to send me in the wall or win your first race, hey, buddy, you go
Just
do
don't
it,
make it
brother.
real deliberate. What I mean, I don't think anything he did with how he pushed Bell. I mean, yeah, he gave him a knock, but then I'm fine with that. That's good. That's good racing right
Hey,
there.
hey, and I get it's a completely different time, but people used to praise Dale Earnhardt for the
You
same
just got to
thing.
rattle his cage, man. That's all you got to
That's
do.
right.
You
Just
just
trying
got
to
to
rattle
rattle his
his
cage.
cage.
All right, my next one I have here is Fox. God bless. They got to do better, dude. Honestly, it's just so many things, and we could sit forever and probably talk about it. But I'll go back to what I said when we were talking about in the last stage of the podcast here. My whole opinion of everything for the finish on Sunday changed after I finally saw a freaking replay of what was going on the last on the caution at the end. They never showed it. They never showed a full field caution replay. You know where I found it? On X the next day when somebody else had footage from something else, that showed it. Like
I,
Clint Boyer, when you first came on board, man, you were funny. Ever since then, dude, oh my gosh, just shut up and let the other guys do it. You have your
I,
place, but
I have told you for 2 years that I'm not a fan of Clint Boyer, and the problem I think it really bothers me. And granted, he's not as good as he was, but Mike Joy, he talks over Mike Joy all the time,
Mhm.
and he literally ruins the essence of good finishes because he talks over Mike. And Kevin is so monotone. Kevin brings a lot of good knowledge,
Kevin
and
does. Here's the
I like
question.
that about Kevin.
Yeah, here's the question though. I wonder is has the combination of Mike Joy and Clint Boyer been so bad that now Kevin's in there? Is Kevin really that good, or are we just happy to hear a new voice? I think he is pretty good. I do
I
think he
think
is.
he's good, but I think but all yeah. I mean, are we playing it up for the fact that Clint is so bad? And
Yeah.
I honestly, I know this might not settle well with others. I would like to see Jamie McMurray in the booth
Yes.
personally.
He's been
I,
fantastic.
ever since he has just been he's analytical. He's able to articulate. He's energetic too. And I mean, granted, no one's going to be DW, Larry Mack, and Mike Joy.
Hmm.
Like that's the best one we're ever going to get. But I just Clint's
NBC
got
has it figured out. Why is it so hard for
yeah.
Fox to figure it out?
Well, NBC chucked a lot of money into it, and Fox just doesn't care anymore.
Well, I
So
think some of it too, like you said, exactly right. They don't care. You know why? Because they just put their money into IndyCar. You know
Indy,
what ticked me off tonight, Cody? I'm sitting here looking, scrolling through X at my son's basketball game, and Bob Pockrass is not at the NASCAR race this weekend. He's at the darn IndyCar race this weekend. That ticks me off, man.
of course he
And
is.
Bob's just doing what's asked of him. He's not going
Yeah.
to say it any other way. But I'm like, come on, dude. Like they've already shifted their priorities. I know NASCAR's got to go with where the money is and this and the other. If they can't find another partner, they can't find another partner. But gosh, it's just throughout the whole weekend, their coverage isn't. Sorry to move my computer. Their coverage isn't all that great. Like Jamie Little is not a good play-by-play. But I will give it this, even though she's not that good at what she does. I mean, she's very well informed and everything. It's just the deliverance isn't there. But Brad Keselowski and Joey, when they're in there, they're fantastic. When Jamie Murray's in there with Xfinity, fantastic. What is missing? Your biggest show, your highest TV audience, you're crap in the bed, dude.
Yeah.
And I
I
also
feel a
think.
little bit.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say, me and you feel a little different about Joey and Brad. I'm not the biggest fan of both of them in there, and that has nothing to do with Joey's driving. But I feel a little bit indifferent. Brad's very monotone too.
Well, Joey's
So
just goofy. Like at the end of the day, like Joey's just really goofy. Like
I absolutely,
But like they do a
absolutely.
pretty good job of bouncing off, and I think what I think the best is they do a really good job of explaining, like the concepts
Hmm.
behind of it, and that's what I like most about them.
Same.
But I'll say this: I think at the end of the day, what's killing Fox is whoever the heck is their producer. I don't know if it's like some kid right out of college or whatever, but gosh, whoever's producing is just doing the most. And like honestly, I think they just need to step back and realize that sometimes simple is better. Just simple is better. Give us good
Yeah,
camera angles. Stop
I was
zooming
gonna
in.
say.
I don't give two flying flips. How if I can see the sparkles in Joey Logano's car, I don't care. Like we have high
I don't
definition televisions of
at
4K and all that
4K.
these days.
I don't need to see Joey Logano's hair pleats under his helmet. I don't need that. Like, and that was the point I was going to make a second ago was, Fox, can we just pan out a damn camera, please? Like, just pan out.
Yes.
That's all I care about. Just I don't need to see. the one lug nut that's loose on, a car.
Yeah.
No, just I need you to pan the camera out so I can see the field.
So I can see the field. Because when we go to a race, that's the best part. Because we can see
Because
the whole.
here's the other issue that nobody talks about. I've never seen this mentioned, and I'm going to be a trailblazer on this one. But if you pan out and I can see the field, then your darn ticker doesn't get in the way.
Yeah.
But your ticker now, when you're panned in to all the cars, and your ticker takes up half my screen, I can't see. I see less cars, so then I'm seeing less action. So if you pan it out a little bit, I can see more cars, and your ticker's not taking up so much of my
Yeah.
view space.
And I'm
So
glad you said that because I definitely made a mistake a minute ago talking about Jamie McMurray with Xfinity because CW does Xfinity now. And
their
you
ticker's
talk the
great.
ticker. Their ticker's great. That ticker's fantastic. Oh my
It's
gosh, why
fantastic.
has no one thought about that before now? Like,
I
and I mean,
honestly,
the other thing too with the ticker with Fox has been really making me mad is they do not scroll through it like they used to. But when they
no.
do, they don't want to put the time difference anymore either. They just want to put the manufacturer. I
Manufacturer.
don't care, man.
I don't need to know that there's 6 Toyotas in the top 15. I don't care. It does not matter to me. And so, and honestly, and I get it. Everybody likes seeing the big ticker on the side, the big ticker at the top or the bottom. Honestly, I still appreciate the one just scrolling across the top.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, when we were younger, sure. Was it miserable to have to sit there and be like, where's my favorite driver at? Yeah, but golly, it kept me entertained to figure out where every other driver was on the track. But now it sits on the top 20 on Fox, and
Yep.
sometimes that thing don't change for 5 or 6
It
laps.
doesn't. We're coming in on the end of stage two, and you and I both play fantasy NASCAR. I'm sitting here needing to make a substitute, needing to pull someone from the garage, and I have no idea if I don't see my 5 or 6 drivers in the top 20. I don't know where they're at. I got to
I have
pull
to
out
go
my
to the
phone,
NASCAR.
pull out the
hmm
NASCAR app, which is
hmm
probably what NASCAR wants, in all honesty. But even then, it updates so much with the positions changing so much. It's hard to follow it on that too. So it's just like, just give me something, man. Just give me
Tell me,
something.
tell me, tell me you favorite your drivers each week, though, right?
It depends. Sometimes.
See, I favorite my drivers on the app every week, so I can see it right there at the top.
It depends. I mean, but with super speedway, when it comes to fantasy, it's such a
It's
crapshoot.
different. It's different there, but I mean, on a
Yeah,
normal, I still favorite it just because it's a habit. But
yeah. I try not to get on the app too much, except just to go make a change. Because I just like. I mean, you know me, Cody. You've been around me enough. When I'm there at the races and stuff, you see me. I put my phone out. I take a video of the green flag, and that's it. It goes
that's
up.
it.
I'm
Done.
focused, man. I've always been that
Done.
way. Let the media do media, take the pictures and all that. I'm watching, so I'm the same thing when I watch it on TV. Honestly, like I'm trying not to pull out my phone that much if I don't have to. So that's
This is
that's
why.
one reason for me.
This is why I told you we're gonna get those headsets, so I don't have to pull my phone out and text you anymore.
Exactly, exactly. All right, well, enough crapping on Fox. We'll have plenty of time to do that for the first half of the season here. So coming up this weekend, we got NASCAR at COTA, Circuit of the Americas, down in Austin, Texas. Biggest news for that one: new track layout this year. Last year they kind of ran the full course. This year they're kind of cutting it basically in
Cut in
half.
half.
Um, yeah, what do you think? Have you seen the new layout? Have you looked at the map yet?
I hadn't looked at the new map yet, but I mean, I'm excited for it to be a little bit shorter. I think it's going to give us some more jam-packed racing. I think the guys are going to be a little more aggressive. So I mean, I'm just really excited for it this weekend.
Yeah, I think that was the whole intent, right? They got so spread out at that one. Really the only action you were getting at COTA, besides the first race there, was just that mad dash into turn one with the
hmm
hairpin where everyone's just slamming into everybody, which is still just complete utter chaos.
It's very F1 feeling.
Yeah, it's just so spread. And kudos to people who can sit and watch F1 be decided in qualifying, but I can't. Although
Shout
there's
out,
been, yeah,
shout out, Brandon.
but I mean, there's been a lot of times. There's been some NASCAR races that have been like that recently too with these cars,
Mhm.
but yeah, it gets them a little bit closer. It allows the opportunity to pass, which has been a struggle in these new cars, even on the road course. I mean, you think the most exciting race they had at COTA a couple of years ago is when Ross won, and he just moved everybody out of the way to do it. But it's because he had to. He had no other option. You couldn't pass. So I think this gives the opportunity to get them a little bit closer, open up the door a little bit for a little, bump and runs, that sort of thing. So we'll see what happens. They're also bringing a new tire that they're really hoping is going to wear. So I'm going to be watching for that too. That'll be interesting. Keep getting aggressive, Goodyear. I promise. If we're just having
What they
blowouts, we
are.
won't be mad. Just keep getting aggressive. We don't care.
Well, as long as it's not I don't know what I can't remember what year it was, but as long as it ain't like the year at the Brickyard,
That's true.
don't
But
give me that. I don't want that.
um, heck, nowadays, if you spin out, your tire's going to pop anyways. I don't know if you noticed that in Atlanta. Like every time someone would wreck, they're having at least three tires go down, if not all
Every time.
four. So whatever, man. Just keep getting aggressive because if they wreck, it's going to blow anyway. So what's it matter?
This is true.
Man, one of the all right. So this next one here, this has been a huge topic. You and I don't do you might too. I don't do a whole lot of NASCAR betting, but I'm probably going to this weekend because Connor Zilic, who's never made a NASCAR debut in his life, is the betting favorite. Some markets he's the favorite. Some markets he's the second favorite behind SVG. He's 18 years old. He's never drove a car like this before. Yeah, he's talented, but can you believe this, man? Like,
I mean, betting market wise, yeah, just because they're going to want all the money to flow towards that way, and
yeah, it's
I
true.
mean, so I mean, like I said, we were singing the same, not exactly the same. We were singing something very similar to that Chicago street race in SVG a couple years ago,
I agree, but it's
and
different
it is.
because this is street race is
This kid's
flat.
eight,
That's what they do in
sure.
supercars. Supercars are very similar to the cup
Hmm.
cars that they have now. So it was surprising because you didn't know who this guy was going into it. Now it's just, I think Zilish will be a road course guy, a road course
Uh,
especially when it's all said and done. But I'm like, man, first time at 18.
it's going. I mean, I fully expect some guys to kind of rough him up a little early.
Because of all the
Uh,
hype going into
yep,
it.
welcome to the show,
Welcome to the show.
and
Give him the old
so
Will Ferrell. Was it Will Ferrell? Which one? Oh yeah,
it
yeah, the
was.
campaign.
It
Welcome to the
was.
show.
Yeah, welcome to the show. So, uh, shout out Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis. But yeah, so I definitely think they're going to rough him up early, kind of and just get under him and see if honestly, I'm going to be eager to see how he responds
Mhm.
and how he handles a long race and um, pit stops and all of those things. It's going to be I'm going to be watching really tuned
all
into
it
him, but
takes, all it takes is for someone to come into turn one, just all gas, no brakes, and Connor goes flying, and that's it. Like I mean, and that can happen here. We've seen it happen
yeah.
here.
So while we're on this, I'm going to ask because we didn't really have it down, and I meant to add this in last week, but totally forgot. One thing we forgot to add was who was our favorite for Atlanta.
Yeah,
We didn't
yeah.
pick one. So who's your favorite? Who's your favorite for this weekend?
It's the next question I had on here. Who do you like this weekend? I'm not giving you too much intel because we're both in a paid league together here. I think a lot of people are going to lean the Zillage SVG type way, but if you go look at some of the stuff at COTA, Tyler Reddick's been very solid there. Ty Gibbs has been very solid there. Ross Chastain has been very solid there. This is a different kind of road course than what we're used to seeing. I think SVG can still be good. I think this is his earliest opportunity to go lock himself into the playoffs right off the bat. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm thinking non-road course specialist this weekend. Just the way it's kind of played out recently.
Yeah, Reddick's my favorite for this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, he's been solid there. He really has. And Ty Gibbs too. And it's about time for Ty to
To
I
win
said
one.
this was going to be the year he wins one. Could be this weekend. He has
Never
not had
know.
a good start to the season so far, so I'm sure he would
No.
love it. Sure he would love it. So yeah, last one here in the final stage. We'll just talk about it. I was talking about this to a friend tonight at my son's basketball practice. Shout out to Lance Martin. Lance and I were talking about what a crazy schedule to start the season. We go two super speedways into a road course. It, it begs me to ask this question, NASCAR. Why did you chase the dollar bills and tear down Auto Club?
Mm.
We're going to be 4 weeks into the season before we get an oval. Like that's not a super speed, but that's wild to me, man. That's
If we'd have told our 12 to 13-year-old selves that, we
if
would
I'd
have
have told
never
my
believed
12-year-old
it.
self they wouldn't be racing in Rockingham anymore, I would have never believed it. So,
It's coming back. It's
hey man,
coming back.
hopefully we make that move down there, watch some trucks in Xfinity. I definitely want to do that
I
this year,
I definitely
for
do
sure.
too. I do
Uh,
too. Yeah, me and you texted about it the other day about the schedule, and I told you, how stupid it was, and I just, I'm just not a fan of it. I don't
They're
think
throwing
it's.
COTA in there because they don't really have a true West Coast swing like they used to now.
Hmm.
I do like having it. I don't mind having Atlanta earlier. I just don't know if we should go back to back super speedways. The good news is it's a different kind of super speedway. But man, the points are just so screwed up right now. Like just because you've got two really wild card races, really three at the end of the day, because road courses can be as well. Um, it's
Well,
just crazy.
and the way that the playoffs are set up, which we'll talk about here in a minute, the way the playoffs are set up, and you set these up, all of a sudden you could have three spots that are taken in the playoffs
That you never
by,
thought it'd be somebody.
yeah, by people that really, don't have that body of work.
And NASCAR's
And
gotten really lucky that didn't happen because they've had two guys who are definitely going to lock themselves in anyways. Go ahead and get in William Byron and Christopher Bell. So,
yep, because if not, yeah,
but let's be
we'll
honest,
talk.
they like the entertainment of that. I think
They
somewhere in a
do.
room when they put this together in a closed door, locked room, they were like, "I really hope this happens. Like,
Hmm.
let's have some craziness right off the bat.
Absolutely.
Let's get." Um, uh,
Eric Jones winning Daytona,
Eric Jones
and
winning
let's
Daytona. Let's get Carson Hocevar winning
win
Atlanta,
Atlanta.
and then let's go on and get AJ Allmendinger winning at COTA. And they got three guys that they can market that have never made the playoffs before right there off the bat.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
oh well, I'm glad they didn't get their talking point.
Me and you both.
Let's move it on. We do have overtime this week, so let's talk about that. First one is shout out to our guy Eric again. Left a couple of comments on our last video. One of the ones I wanted to touch base with. There's been rumors floating around now, and I think it's one of the biggest reasons why NASCAR really hasn't made too many huge changes to the next gen car as far as horsepower and all this other stuff. But do you see any new manufacturers coming to Cup in the near future? I mean, they've been flirting around for a while. Dodge and Honda seem to be the ones that have the most rumors swirling around. What do you think?
It's going to be tough for any new manufacturer to, come to NASCAR or in this instance, come back to NASCAR. I told you last year I would love nothing more than to see Dodge come back.
Hmm.
I've always been a Chevy guy, but I think the more manufacturers there are, I think the better the competition is.
Hmm.
Of course, Dodge is, old tried and true, NASCAR, sponsor and manufacturer. So, Honda, I mean, I could take it or leave it. It doesn't really appeal to me that much. Um,
I'll be
so
honest, man. I don't think these guys want Honda getting in it. They're so good when it comes to motorsports. I mean, honestly, like you got to call a spade a spade. Like,
Mhm.
give them a year or two learning curve, and then after that, watch out if they do come in it.
Toyota would be so pissed.
Yeah, and see, that's why I'm just like, I don't. Do I actually think it's going to happen? No, I don't. Not anytime soon. NASA's going to keep floating out there excuses for why they don't want to make changes, but I'll be shocked within the next 5 years if it happens. Of course, I'll say that, and then this weekend they'll announce somebody. But honestly, just the way it's been going, I mean, they've been talking about this since after
Years.
COVID. I mean, even before
Hmm.
COVID, they were talking about it. Then it
Hmm.
chilled out, and then they've started bringing it back up. And yeah, I'm with you. I'd love to see Dodge get back in it. Was always kind of shocked to see them get out.
Hmm.
But they had lost a lot of teams there toward the end. So if Dodge came back, can they get enough teams back on board to make it worth it? I don't know. Where I do think if Honda came, I think Honda would get some teams on board for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
All right, well, let's finish it with this. Right before we got on here, I saw a tweet. We were talking about there have already been some meetings that started in Daytona. They have about 25 people on a board to talk about playoff formats, possibly changing the playoff formats as early as 2026. So that begs me to say, and I know you and I have talked about it before, however you want the champion to be decided, what would be your ideal format?
I mean, I once again, I want consistency. I want to reward consistency. I want to, not just to win and get in. To me, I think it's, sort of, maybe go for me. I think I would go back to sort of the old point system, and then kind of reward, the top, 12 to 16. If you want to keep it at 16, that's fine. Um, and then maybe just like reset the points during
Similar to the
during the
chase.
playoffs. Yeah, I mean, just kind of reset them, and then from that point forward. But that also kind of contradicts rewarding someone for a full season of work too. So I mean, I think if you've got like I said, I don't know. I haven't given. I mean, I've given it some thought during the off season, and but not really in good detail. Um, so I mean, but I think you got to reward guys like if someone's got 3 wins, okay, then fine, give them the bonus points in the chase or whatever playoff or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, I just you know even this elimination stuff is still to me it's. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I
Yeah.
want to reward someone for the consistency over the entirety of the season, the body of work.
I think first of all, I think with the whole garage policy and all that now, I don't know if you could ever go back to the old Winston Cup series because they're just not allowed to work on it. And basically, then it was just
Mm-hmm.
don't have any DNFs and you were going to put yourself in position. But
Mm-hmm.
I really like the chase, even though Jimmy Johnson dominated it. I think just him and Chad Knaus have figured it out a little sooner than everyone else. Um, but some of those last ones there toward like the 2010 through until they changed it to the playoffs, I mean, those championships were great. I mean, you talk about Denny and Jimmy, Tony and Carl, Brad Keselowski was in there. Like, they were just some really good formats. I didn't mind the chase. I don't necessarily mind the playoffs. Hear me out. I think the playoffs could work, but switch it up a little bit. All right, win and you're in the playoffs. I'm okay with that. Take it down to 12. Get rid of 16. We don't need 12. But I don't think if you win in a round, you should automatically advance to the next round. Consistency, man. Give me 3 races across the board, even in the final. I've told you this. I don't know what that math is. I didn't have time tonight to sit down and do it because we literally saw this before we hit record. But make the math work out to where if you have a final 4, that's fine. I'm fine with 4 final drivers, but do it over 3 races. I've told you this multiple times. They have 3 very good tracks to finish the year to do this. Well, they did. I know that the schedule's changed this year, but last year they had Homestead, Martinsville, and Phoenix. That is a perfect 3-leg race to finish off a NASCAR season. I don't know if you could ask for anything else. Homestead's a great mile and a half. These new cars run great on a mile and a half. You have the oldest short track in NASCAR in Martinsville. Yeah, they could do some things to fix it to make it better, but and then Phoenix. I mean, Phoenix is give or take if you really like it or not. It could use some different things around, but I think those 3 races, and you got 4 guys, and it's just be consistent over 3 races, be really good over 3 races. You're gonna get a really good product. People are gonna tune in. It's not about one race. Christopher Bell is not just eliminated from the championship because he blew a brake rotor in the championship race. He might have 2 weeks where he could potentially bounce back and do it. That's my ideal. Put me
Yeah,
as the make me CEO
and
tomorrow.
also too, it rewards those guys for being able to now to go back in the garage and fix that.
Hmm.
So if they're in those final 3 races and they do blow that rotor or whatever, or get in an accident, early in on the first race, they could come back out and still finish that race and get those
Potentially, yep,
points,
yep.
and then still be able to second and third week to still have a long shot at that championship.
Yeah, I'm with you. And the regular season champion I think has made the final four all but one time. It was that Kevin Harvick in the COVID year. So
Hmm.
usually your regular season guys getting there. If you make it to where it's consistency throughout the rounds of the playoffs, it's not just wins. It's consistency. Your best drivers are going to be in the final 4. It will not be any other way. Your best 4 drivers will be in the final 4. You won't have what you had last year with Joey Logano. Your best 4 drivers are there, and then they're doing 3 different tracks, which is going to, each driver is going to be better at one than the other. It's going to provide really good consistency over 3 races. It's must see TV, man. I don't know why
It
they wouldn't
is.
want to do that. I don't get it.
And that's the thing too, is it's just going to expand on strategy for the teams that are having to
Hmm.
compete for that. They're going to have to make decisions they're going to have to live and die by. Is it taking a 2-tire stop instead of a 4-tire stop? Is it taking less fuel? Is it taking just fuel only? Is it not pitting? It's taking those things. Is it pitting early? So and those are the things that we saw so much growing up, and that made NASCAR great in the strategies on going out and getting the most points each week, going out and trying to win races. And I mean, ultimately, that's all we really want every single week. And now, the way the playoffs are set up, all you got to do is just get to that final week and just go win the race, and you're a champion. It doesn't
Yep.
matter what you did all season.
Yep.
And it's not
It's
right.
it's
It's not
one
rewarding.
race. It's one race that obviously the Fords are better at than anyone else right now. I mean, it is what it is. um, and so it's just like, I mean, Denny's been saying it for years. He can remember going out one year, and he told the story about his mom was on the plane and asked one of the guys from JGR if he had a chance. He was like, no, he doesn't. It's like we just don't. The other manufacturers have been better. He doesn't have a chance. Things are going to have to, the stars are going to have to line perfectly for him. But it gives you 3 races, man, to just see it out. I just think it would be really good. Yeah, I'm very biased. It's my idea. But I think this is the best way to do it. NASCAR's trying to get, right now, with this current system, trying to follow what you get with every other sport, right? And they'll allude to the whole Patriots in '07. They were undefeated but lost in the Super Bowl. That's football, man. That's different. This is motorsports. It's about
Yeah,
consistency. It should not come to one because so many fluke things can happen in one, which it did for the Patriots. I get it, dude, catching a ball off his helmet. But it's different. It's different.
it is.
All right. Well, man, that's been a good one. I had fun tonight. Hope you did
Absolutely.
as well. We're gonna get off here. You got to go to bed. You got to go take your nap before you go to work real early tomorrow morning.
2:30 is going to come early.
Dude, no, no way. But anyways, hey, I hope everyone's enjoyed it tonight. As always, give us a like, give us a subscribe. Heck, share our video, share our podcast, whatever you can do. Share the Facebook page. My goal is hopefully get us on Instagram sometime soon. We're gonna start building some reels off of different things we got. I just need things to chill out for a little bit so I can do that. But hopefully we're coming there. Cody, appreciate it, man. As always, Adam Pace, Cody St. John. Thanks for listening to the Stage Racing Podcast.